Hello people of the tube, welcome to this video in which I'm going to be answering a question that a number of people have asked me, and that is, what gear do I use to capture and to produce my videos? And I think this has come about because my videos are of a reasonably decent quality for somebody that is really just starting out on YouTube. Now, one of the things that I would like to say before I even start is the best camera that you can use is the camera that is readily available to you. And if that happens to be your smartphone, then so be it. There are plenty of YouTubers that started out with a standard smartphone that have gone on to produce great content on great channels. So if you can't afford the latest DSLR or the latest high-end 4K video camera, don't worry about it. Just start off with the video camera that you've got. Like I said, if that's on your smartphone, then great. I mean, part of this video, because obviously I want to take some video of the camera that I'm using to produce this video, is an old Sony Handycam. Just one that I happen to have lying around. And in fact, we're going to use that right now to have a look at the camera that I'm using to record this video. Okay, so the camera that I usually shoot my videos on is a Canon EOS 7D, and I'll explain why I'm using that particular camera. And then that has got a standard Canon 18 to 135mm lens on there. And it's the kit lens that came with the camera, so nothing special. And I tend to be shooting that wide open, so usually about f3, which is as good as I can get. It would be good if I could shoot at f1.4, so I've got that nice bokeh behind me, or bokeh, however you pronounce it, behind me. But again, I'm just using the gear that is available to me. On top of that, I've got the Rode video microphone, which enhances the audio quality considerably. And then all of that is mounted on top of a sturdy tripod, and I happen to prefer a ball head mount so that I can get the camera in exactly the position that I need. So as far as the camera is concerned, that is all of the gear that we are using. Now, obviously I've got my laptop, which I'm using to capture, and well, not to capture, but to edit the footage on, and then to actually produce the sound. I've got my amplifier, which is then hooked up to my guitar. So again, as far as playing the guitar is concerned, absolutely nothing very clever whatsoever. Now, as I said, with the f-stop, I tend to be shooting at f3 on this particular camera, which is as wide as it will go. If I was going to be buying a new camera and I could afford it, then I would probably be going for a mirrorless Canon camera with an f1.4 lens, or if I was going to be doing live streaming, then I would probably be looking at one of the Sonys, again maybe connected to a Sigma 1.4 lens, so I can get that wide bokeh. And the benefit of this Sony, I believe, is that it's got an HDMI out, so that will go straight into your laptop without having to mess around. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people favour the Sonys. But then you are talking about a lot of money. I was looking at the Sony camera for possibly to be using for a live stream that I'm thinking about doing, and it's £2,500. That is out of the question until this channel is making some serious money and I can start investing in more gear. So for now, again, when I'm thinking about doing live streams, I'm thinking about using my laptop with a webcam. If the background isn't blurred out, well, that's just too bad. I'm going to be using, again, the camera or the equipment that is readily available to me. Right, so once we've actually got the footage captured to the camera, I then connect my camera up to my laptop and manually download the file. There are other ways. You could just take the card out of the camera and slide that into a card reader in your computer, but I tend to like keeping my cards in the cameras, and I just collect them via a USB cable. So let's go ahead and do that now, and then we'll look at editing the video in Camtasia. So I'll be right back with that in just a moment. So back at the computer, we'll turn the camera on, and I connect my camera via the USB port. You could quite easily take the memory card out and put it into a memory card reader, but this is just the way that I work. And then I also normally launch another instance of the File Explorer, and then I navigate to where I'm going to keep my files. So in this instance it is in here, and I have a working project folder. Now in the working project folder, I've actually got some files already in there. So these are some projects that I've done previously, and I can actually clean those out now. So we'll just remove those two. I normally just reuse a lesson. I'm going to do that in this instance. And this little MTS file is the camcorder file. I've already brought that in. So what we'll do is we'll navigate to where we have our video file. And I'm simply going to drag that across and onto my local machine. Now this little image file here is the still image that I took to get the framing correct. And I tend to frame just slightly with some space around me so that I have the option to crop in. A couple of times I got the crop really, really nicely, but then that means you haven't got the flexibility of being able to zoom in and out a little bit. So once we've done that, we can turn off the camera. And then we need to launch our video editing software. Now in my instance, I'm going to be using Camtasia 2018 purely because that is what I have available to me on my machine. But you could be using whatever. I will open the most recent project. And it tells me that I've got some files missing because we've just deleted those files. So do you want to find file? No. Okay to that, and then that will launch this particular file for me. Now you can see these are the components or the movie files that we're missing. So what I then do is I just come down onto the timeline and delete all of those missing components, and then I can delete them from the project. Now the reason why I'm using an existing project is because I already have a few components. So this component here, if I drag this down onto the timeline, this just happens to be my little intro. I've also got my thanks for watching clip, etc. Now these are simply on my machine in template files. I've got renders. These are just some movie clips that I've created previously. So I've got my intro, I've got my subscribe banner, and a couple of thanks for watchings. And you can just add those in to the project just by importing media. Now we are actually going to import some media, and the media that we are going to import is from our working project files, and we need to import this particular video clip. And I'm just going to delete these two off for the moment. And then all I do is drag that media clip down onto the timeline. I actually also need to import the other one as well. Now normally I'm just working with one video clip, so the audio and the visual is just in one file, and I tend to leave it that way. In this instance I'm actually going to move the two overlays up because I've also got the video of the camera. And this is where I'm actually using the camcorder to show the camera. And I'm going to need to marry those two up, which can be a little bit fiddly at times, because obviously what you've done is you have set the two cameras recording at different times. Even if you try and set them running at the same time, there's always going to be a slight mismatch. But what we can do is just use the waveform in here to work out where we need to be talking to, where we need to line this up on the timeline. And that's just a case of jigging that around accordingly. Now that waveform looks very similar, so I'm suspecting that's where it is. And I'm just going to pause the video now for a moment, just while I get this all lined up, because I'm running on headphones and you actually need to listen to the two. And when you've got the two lined up, you'll find that the voice will be consistent right the way across when you're playing it, rather than having an echo or two different audios. So I'll be back in just a moment. Right, so they're lined up, and what I can do in here is now remove the audio, or I can edit it. In this instance, I'm just going to minimize it so that when I'm playing that, I only get the single audio from my main video, because I don't need the two. All I needed from the camcorder was the visuals. Then all I do is I go back to the beginning. I will then play, I will listen through, and for instance for here I need to get to the point where I start talking, which is actually there. I can then edit the timeline accordingly, and depending on how your own video editing software works, you'll obviously need to do things slightly differently because they're all a little bit different. I'm looking at using DaVinci Resolve, and that's quite a bit different to this. It is a lot more complicated. I do find that Camtasia is very simple. Now, the other thing within Camtasia that you can do, and you can do in most of the video editing software, is to drop on all sorts of components, what I refer to as overlays. So this one just happens to be the title for my video. And because I'm using an existing title, I can just double click again, and then I can change this one to, I don't know what I'm going to call this video, I haven't really thought about it, but easy video editing. And we'll just have a catchphrase of how I quickly create my videos. And we can probably get YouTube in there. So just something that happens to look, reasonably nice. And you can add in all sorts of overlays, anything that you have created before. So for instance, if I want to bring in my intro into here, then I can go and split this timeline just by selecting the area where I want it. Let's just let's put that in here. So I'll just move the guide here to where I want to split and click S, and then I can move that across. And now I'm going to have my little intro between where the video starts and finishes. And if I want to, I can add in some transitions. So I can put a fader in here, and I can also put a fade on there and a fade on that one, and then just move these around. So this is all just basic video editing stuff. Like I said, it would be different in your own. One of the other things I quite like with Camtasia though is the audio effects. You can drop noise removal onto your timeline, and you can do volume leveling, which is quite nice. You can fade in and fade out. You can change the clip speeds. You've also got your library. So if I come to the beginning here where I have my titles, that's actually the lower thirds, and I think I'm using the assist option. But there are plenty of different graphics that you can use in here. Sometimes when I say something incorrectly, or I think about something that I might need in the video whilst I'm editing that I forgot to say when I was recording, then you could add in some annotations. You've got transitions moving between clips. You've also got some behaviors with some wording coming in if you really want to. I don't tend to use that very much. Animations is where I will zoom in and zoom out just to give it a little bit of movement. And cursor effects I don't use for my YouTube videos. I may well do with this one because you'll need to see when I'm clicking. I can use those. You can put voice narration over the top, and then you've audio effects we did, and then your visual effects. I don't tend to use these too much, but if you want, you can remove a color for chroma keying. You can also set some color adjustment in there. I tend to find the colors are quite nice from my camera, and I like the natural feel, so I tend to leave that alone. So it's all pretty straightforward. One of the other things that I tend to do just before I render, or after I've rendered is I'll look through to a point in the video that I happen to like, normally just a frame. Sometimes I'll take a photograph, but if I didn't, I might just grab a frame that I like. I'll then do a print screen. I'll then open up Photoshop, and this is where I do the thumbnail. So if we just wait for this to open up for a moment. So I'll then open up my thumbnail. This is my little template that I've created. And basically in here, I have the image for the actual video, and then laid over the top in different colors, I have got the text. So if I'm doing a play along, then I'll use blue. This happened to be a general, which I've gone to white writing now, but there's no white color in here, so it's just as red. And if I'm doing just some general in here, if I'm doing a review, then I'll turn those two off and turn the review on. If I'm doing a lesson, it'll be yellow. You get the idea, but you can turn these on and off and then edit them accordingly. So again, just by double clicking on here, I can go and say easy video creation. Now I'll try and keep the words roughly the same as what I had in the video. So normally I would refer back, and I've lost my train of thought, so I'm not going to worry about that too much now. But what we do is, if I go into File and New from the clipboard, I will Control V to bring in that screenshot. I will then just crop. So image crop. I'll then do a select all, and we'll do a copy, and we'll do a paste. Now that's actually come in at the wrong place. So I can either drag that down to wherever I want it, or what I can do is just delete that and scroll down to where I want it. So I have all my lesson images together, and then I have underneath the lessons all of the others. So layer 4, normally I would have changed that name. That was my practice log management software. And I'm going to do video 1 because there may well be other videos. And then I'll do a Control V there. And then I'll change this to quick video. And then you can just turn these off and on just by clicking these buttons. So obviously that isn't a great image, not one that I would particularly use, but you get the idea on how I quickly create my thumbnails. So anyway, that's really it. Just using Camtasia very quickly to produce the video. And then once I've done that, I'll just share that as a local file, just using the settings that I've got set up in here. And I just put it into a folder on the desktop called Lesson 27. And that's where I put the thumbnail as well. Once that's rendered out, it's a straightforward MP4 file, which I can then upload to YouTube. So what this video really shows is a very, very, very quick way of producing some reasonably decent video using some basic kits. I've got a basic camera. Now I use a DSLR, but it could be your phone, it could be a much cheaper camera, basically anything that is recording video. On top of that, I've got my Rode video mic, which just gives me some better audio quality, a decent sturdy tripod, and then what I will do is I'll take my still image to compose the shot. So in this instance, where I was just talking directly to you, then I've just got myself central. Sometimes if I'm working with a guitar, then I'll have myself on a third using the rule of thirds, and I just basically look at the feel for the actual image. We then record the video, connect the camera up, drop the file onto my machine, import it into the video editing software, edit that with your video editing software, and then save it out. It's very, very, very quick and very easy. And for a 10-minute video, I normally spend probably about 20 minutes, I would guess, processing. So the whole thing is done in around about 3/4 of an hour. So you're not spending all day messing around with software and getting your videos looking really nice. Obviously, if you're using DaVinci Resolve, then you will need to go about things slightly differently, but there are loads and loads and loads of different videos on the different video editing suites out there. So I'll leave you to look up the video editing suite of your choice, and then that will give you an idea of what you need to do. So anyway, that's this video, and I will be back with the next one, which is going to be a catch up on how I'm doing with Everybody Hurts and the blues with the power chord progression. And I've made quite a big step forward on that this week. I'm really pleased with my progress, so I'm looking forward to putting that video together, which will be done maybe this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. I'm going to be busy today, but may well be Sunday that I get that one done. Anyway, that's this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell button for more notifications. And in the meantime, stay safe, and I will see you again very soon. Take care. Bye bye.